Well, the arrest of an Armenian businessman by the country's prime minister is raising serious questions about political retaliation and religious freedom in the Christian nation. One America's Dana Aleksa has more details.
I'm joined now by the attorney representing Samvel Carpathian, Joseph Tipograph. Joseph, welcome. Tell me about your client, what happened to him, and why the world should care.
On June 16th, a couple months ago, Karapetyan had, in a public interview, made some comments defending the church while stepping out of a memorial for his father, who had died about a month earlier. And later that day, he was arrested by the Armenian authorities and, without any credible evidence, put in detention, where he remains to this day. This is a case about suppression of speech and a suppression against religion and an attack on the church. In addition, Mr. Carpathian owns the electric networks of Armenia. It's his business, and the Armenian government has tried to expropriate his business. In a July 22nd ruling, an emergency arbitrator ruled against the Armenian government. They found they had no basis to try to expropriate our client's business. And yet our client remains in detention with serious medical conditions and being denied bail. And I think that we, as the United States, should care about this, because we see Armenia as an ally. Today, President Trump signed an agreement with Armenia, and we need to be aware of how their values line up with ours.
It's so funny. So his arrest came right after he defended his Armenian church. He criticized the prime minister. As I understand it, Mr. Tipograph, Armenia is a place that is guaranteed the right to free speech. There's freedom of the press. So I'm just, what is this retaliation against? Because you can speak freely against your government in Armenia, so we thought.
That's right, Dana, so we thought. This really comes as a shock, and the U.S. State Department keeps track of countries around the world. It likes to advise Americans, advise the public on how our allies are doing in the fields of human rights. And in a lot of these areas, Armenia has a relatively clean reputation. And I think it's time, if this continues, if he remains in detention, and if the Armenian government keeps this pressure on him, I think it's time to revisit how we view Armenia as a democracy.
That's very interesting. That's something that nobody's ever thought of or touched on, and maybe this case will bring some light to it. As I understand it today, the Armenian prime minister who joined President Trump today to broker the peace deal with Azerbaijan, there were protesters outside the White House today, and then there were protesters at the PM's hotel last night. People are slowly finding out about this. Christians alike all around the world know what's going on to Mr. Carpathian. They see what's happening. They see his rights being infringed on. So other than allyship, why is this important for the whole world to know, especially in the U.S.? Why should we know? Why should we care? And how can we help him?
I think it's something that's inherent about being American, is we do care. We do care about the rights of people in our country, but also around the world. And when we see countries trampling on the rights of people, trampling on the freedom of religion, it really strikes a chord with us. It really is something that we see increasingly so in this country. People don't stand for that. And it's important now to pay attention to what's happening. And I think that this case involving our client is one of the hallmark cases of what Armenia's democracy looks like going forward.
How was Samvel Carpathian's arrest handled, legally speaking? Were the proper legal channels followed upon arresting him?
Frankly, I'm not aware of the evidence that the government is holding him on. It seems very vague from what I understand. It does not seem to line up with our notions of due process here in America. That is for sure.
And the government claims national security concerns. They also haven't provided evidence. What's your take of what's really happening?
I mean, I think that's a very damning claim to make without evidence, and to deprive somebody of freedom. And we're coming up on 2 months now. That is a long time. And Mr. Karpathian is not without his health issues that need serious addressing and are not fit for a man to be in detention.
Yeah, he's applied for that medical release, but he's being denied that medical care. Has the government of Armenia explained why that is?
I have no understanding as to why they've denied him care, and I have no understanding as to why they've denied him bail. He should be a free man. He should be with his wife and his family. I know President Trump cares very much about the church. He cares about Christianity, and I think that he would be shocked when he becomes aware of what's happening to somebody who's just spoken up in support of a church.